Hey, happy Halloween. Golly, man, it's that time of the year again. But, this time we're going to do things a little bit different, a little more professional. I got a hell of a video editor now. So, fuck, why not use them and make this look good, right? It's coffee, so don't freak out. You can probably even see it coming up. I can, maybe you can't, but I don't know how good the video camera really is. All right. But, every year, smoke shop owners across the country, I ask them to send me their haunted stories about the weird stuff that happens, either around closing time or, hey, as you're going to hear throughout the day. And especially in the evening and when lights get low, and the register hums just a little too long, things get weird, or you're in the building too long by yourself, because sometimes the customer doesn't come in the last couple of hours. It's dark outside, man. And if you're running a shop, you already know, that sometimes the hours get really late. And the buildings are old, and sometimes you feel like you might not be alone when you may not be, All right, so these stories that I'm going to tell you come straight from real owners, not ghost hunters, not actors. I'm not reading them on fucking Reddit, but real people in the industry, all right? And they swear that these things happen inside their stores. Now, of course, these are stories or folklore, about their stores and shit. So maybe, but I wasn't there. I'm just telling you the story. So look, turn the lights down and maybe spark something up and settle in, get you a little drinky drink. Because, tonight
we're diving into the haunted smoke shop stories that'll make you think twice before locking up.
The subject line is strange whistling in my shop. Says, hey, Chad, first off, let me say that I've been following your channel for a while, and I own a smoke shop in a college town, and I've learned a lot from your videos, thanks, about displays, signage, and how to keep margins tight. So thanks for that, man. You've been a huge help. Man, that means a lot. Thank you so much, man. I wouldn't normally write something like this, but since you said you were looking for haunted smoke shop stories for Halloween, I was, thank you very much. I figured I might as well share mine. I've never told this whole thing to anyone outside my family and a couple of employees because it honestly makes me sound like I've lost my damn mind. But it's real, and it's been going on for quite some time now. Let me start from the beginning. Ooh, here we go. All right. I opened my shop in 2017 in an older building right off of Main Street. Rent was cheap because the property had been sitting empty for years. It used to be a laundromat, and before that, some kind of repair store way back in the day. The building is old, like 1930s construction, with warped wood floors in the back room and pipes that bang when the temperature changes. At first, I chalked up every weird noise to the age of the place. Old buildings make sounds. They settle, they creak, they pop, they do all kinds of crazy shit. But then there was this one sound that didn't fit with the rest. It was whistling. The first time I heard it, it was maybe 3 months after opening. I was behind the counter doing a late night inventory check. My one employee had gone home, and it was just me, a pot of coffee, and stacks of glass pipes that needed labeling. The store was dead quiet except for the hum of the cooler in the back. That's when I heard it. A slow, steady whistle. It wasn't a tune I recognized. It wasn't like someone was whistling a song. It was just a long, rising and falling note. Now, I'm not a whistler, guys, but, maybe, I don't know. It came from the front of the store near the door. I thought maybe someone had walked in and I hadn't noticed, but the chime hadn't gone off. I looked up, nothing. Street was empty outside. I stood there, just listening, trying to place it. Then it stopped. I figured maybe it was pipes or wind, old building shit. So I went back to the labeling. But an hour later, it happened again. This time from the aisle with the rolling papers. Same whistle, same pitch. I walked over there with my flashlight thinking maybe a vent was letting air through at just the right angle, but the vent was closed. And then nothing. Dead quiet again. I shook it off and went home. Me too. I would have done that too, man. I might have got me 5 gallons of kerosene, called that place a day. I'm just saying. Don't quote me though. Over the next few weeks, it kept happening. So this isn't even like Halloween, man. Like this shit's going on, full time. Always at night, always when I was at the store alone. The whistling would start faint, and then someone way at the back of the shop, and then move. One night, I swear I heard it pass right behind me. It wasn't every night though. Some weeks, nothing would happen. Other weeks, it would happen multiple times. I started noticing that it usually happened when I stayed past 11 p.m. It was never aggressive or loud. It wasn't like a scream or anything, just a calm, slow whistle. For a while, I thought it was just me. Lack of sleep, stress. You know how it is. Running a smoke shop isn't exactly 9 to 5. But then customers started mentioning it. One afternoon, a guy came up to the counter and asked if I had a speaker hidden somewhere playing music. I said no. He said he could swear he heard someone whistling near the hookah tobacco. Another time, a girl who came in for Delta 9 gummies froze mid-step and asked me, "Did you hear that?" I asked her, "What?" And she said, "It sounded like someone was whistling right behind me." That's when I realized it wasn't just in my head. I had 3 different employees over the years mention it. One of them quit after only a month because she said she couldn't handle being in the store alone. Her exact words, "It feels like someone's walking up behind you when you're stocking shelves, and then you hear the damn whistle. No thanks, I'm out, dude, peace." The others just kind of laugh it off. They say things like, "Oh, that's just our ghost customer coming in for his nightly visit." But I can tell it kind of unnerves them. Nobody likes the closing shift alone anymore. We've nicknamed it the whistling customer. It almost became a running joke in the shop. Like, "Oh, did the whistling customer stop by last night?" But here's the thing. It doesn't feel like a joke when it's happening. There's something unsettling about hearing that slow, calm whistle in an empty building, especially when it moves, like it's circling you, aisle to aisle. Oh, fuck, I'll bet, man. I'm telling you, man, 5 gallons of kerosene, that's it. Game over. One night, I even said out loud, "Can you stop that? You're freaking me out." And I swear to you, Chad, it stopped immediately. The weirdest night, he says. The weirdest incident happened last October before Halloween. We had decorated the shop with cobwebs, orange lights, the whole deal. Business was slow that night, so I closed up early, but I stayed after hours to reorganize the vape display. Around midnight, the whistling started. It was faint at first, but then it grew louder. I tried to ignore it, and then the front door chimes went off. You know, the little bell that dings when the door opens. I went to check. The door was still locked. Nobody was outside. When I turned back toward the counter, I nearly dropped my keys. Sitting on the glass display, right where I had been standing 10 minutes earlier, was a cigar. We don't even sell that brand. It was some old-timey looking cigar, dusty with faded wrapping. I picked it up and I felt this chill run through me. I checked the inventory and I asked my employees the next day. Nobody knew where it came from. I kept that cigar in the office for a while, but after a month, it disappeared. Gone. I tried to explain it away 100 different ways. Pipes, drafts, echoes from the street, but none of that explains the customers hearing it too. Hell, none of it explains the damn cigar. One guy who owned a bar next door to us, the building used to be a speakeasy during Prohibition, he said. He joked that maybe one of the old patrons just never left. Another customer swears the whistling sounds like an old blues tune, like something from the 20s. All I know is it happens, and it hasn't stopped. Well, it's 2025. I still hear it from time to time. Not every night, but often enough that I've gotten used to it. Sometimes I'll just say evening, like I'm greeting a customer, and weirdly, the whistling will pause. Like whoever it is listening. It doesn't feel evil, but it doesn't really feel friendly either, just present. My employees still don't like closing alone. We keep the radio on at night now, just so it's not so quiet. But every once in a while, even over the music, I'll catch it, that slow, steady whistle. And I know the whistling customer is still around. Well, anyway, that's my story. Thought it might fit your Halloween show. Believe me or not, that's completely up to you. If you're ever in this state, drop by my shop after hours. You might just hear it for yourself. Keep doing what you do, Chad. Thanks for giving us shop owners a place to share stuff like this shit. Richard. Oh gosh. Well, yeah, that's spooky. But it doesn't honestly sound like the whistling customer has got an issue with you guys. I think he just wants to be seen and heard. And hey, man, it kind of is what it is. And hopefully, it'll be okay. It doesn't sound like they want you to get the fuck out or nothing, They just want to be acknowledged. Story number 2. The case that won't stay locked. I don't know how that's going to be a ghost story. Here's a haunted smoke shop story for you, the subject line says. Hey, Chad, I've been meaning to write to you ever since I saw you mention doing another Halloween special on your channel. I'm not really the type to talk about ghost or haunted stuff and shit like that, but I got a story from my smoke shop that even I can't explain, and I figured you might get a kick out of it, or at least your viewers will. Before I jump in, let me say thanks. Your videos on merchandising have saved me a ton of trial and error. We're a small family-run shop, been open since 2020. Woo, you're getting 5 years, bro. Way to go. 6 years. And your advice on layouts and upselling has honestly made a difference. So thank you for that. I'm glad to have helped. I swear I am. And I appreciate your kind words. Now, on to the weird crap. This all revolves around one particular display case in my store. The glass case we use to keep our grinders and high-end lighters and some of our more fragile glass pieces. That case, it don't quite behave like it should. When we first opened, I bought the display case secondhand from a furniture liquidator. It looked good with thick glass, mirrored back, sturdy lock on the sliding door. Perfect for showing off stuff without worrying about sticky fingers. About 2 weeks after I set it up, I came in one morning and noticed something strange. The doors were slid open about 6 inches. I froze because I knew for a fact I had locked it the night before. I kept a pretty tight routine. Cash drawer, lights, lock the case, lock the door, head out. I figured maybe I had just forgotten. Maybe I was tired. It happens. So I shut it, locked it again, and went on with the day. But then it happened again and again and again. At first I thought an employee might have been careless, but I double checked. Both of them swore up and down they locked it. One even started taking a picture with her phone after closing to prove it. Still, we'd come in the next morning and the doors would be open. After a couple weeks of this, the whole thing got stranger. We started noticing that items inside the case weren't where we left them. One morning I came in and found a whole row of grinders tilted at the exact same angle, like someone had lined them up military style Another time, one of the Zippos we kept in there was upside down, just setting that away on the shelf like it belonged there. None of my employees fessed up, and honestly, why would they? We all take inventory daily. If something was stolen or misplaced, it would have been obvious, but nothing was missing, just moved. It wasn't just us who picked up on it either. One regular customer pointed out that the lighters looked like they were dancing. I laughed it off, but then I realized what he meant. Half the roll was slightly shifted left, like someone had nudged them with their hand. Another time, a guy browsing papers swore he saw movement in the glass case out of the corner of his eye. He said it looked like something shifting on its own. He thought maybe we'd had one of those rotating displays in there. Hey man, we don't. At this point, I decided to test the lock. I stayed late one night and made sure everything was perfectly neat inside. Locked the doors, pulled on them hard to make sure they were secure, and even taped a piece of paper across the seam so if it slid open, the paper would tear. Next morning, the paper was still intact, but the case was unlocked, and one grinder had been moved from the top shelf to the bottom. Well, nobody else has keys. Nobody broke in. Alarm never went off. I stood there staring at that case for a good 5 minutes, trying to come up with a very, very, very logical explanation. But Chad, I just couldn't come up with one. My employees started refusing to restock that case alone. One girl told me she heard a soft tapping inside while she was straightening up the shop. She said it was like fingernails on glass coming from the inside of the locked case. Another employee swore she saw her own reflection move differently in the mirrored back panel, like she turned her head and her reflection kept looking straight ahead for a split second. She was so freaked out, she wouldn't go near the case for a week. At first, I thought they were exaggerating, maybe feeding off each other's bullshit nerves. But then something happened to me. I was reorganizing stock late one night, just me in the shop, music playing low. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the case. I thought maybe the light was catching weird, so I went over, and I swear, Chad, one of the grinders shifted about an inch right in front of me. Just a tiny scraping sound against the glass shelf, like it slid. I unlocked the case and checked. No slope, no uneven shelf, nothing that could have made it slide. I left the case unlocked that night just to see. When I came back in the morning, doors were closed and they were locked tight. Here's the kicker. After months, I started having issues with the actual keys. Sometimes they wouldn't work. The lock would jam like something was holding it from the inside. One time, the key itself snapped clean off in the lock. I had to replace the lock entirely. Got a brand new one installed. Guess what? Same problems. Doors still open on their own. Items still move. The creepiest incident happened last year around Christmas. I wasn't working the counter when the bell on the door chimed. I looked up, saw a guy walk in, tall man in a dark coat, kind of old-fashioned looking. I didn't think much of it at first. He went straight to the glass case, stood there staring in. I asked if he needed help. He didn't answer. Then, this part gives me chills. He bent down like he was looking closely, and I swear I heard the same faint tapping on the glass from inside the case. I blinked, and this guy was gone. And I mean just gone. Door hadn't chimed again. Nobody in the store. It still happens. Not every day, but often enough that we've all accepted it. Items still moved around. Customers still say they feel drawn to it. I've had people suggest I get rid of it. But here's the thing. Sales from the cases are some of the best in the store. People are always checking it out, even if they don't know why. So I've decided to leave it be. Whatever's attached to that case isn't scaring customers away. It's almost like it's pulling them in. Still, none of us like being alone in the shop at night with it. That's my haunted smoke shop story for you. I'm not saying I believe in ghosts 100%, but I can't deny what's been happening. Figured it'd be right up your alley for Halloween. Thanks again for what you do, Chad. If you're ever here in Kansas, I'll show you the case in person. Who knows? Maybe it'll decide to put on a show for you too. Morris, cool. He looks inside the case and then he's just gone. It's pretty odd, bro. I have to agree, that's pretty odd. All right, so let's get into the next one, see what happens. All right, everybody. So this is number 3 story, right? Cigar Mystery at my shop. Okay, here we go. Hey, Chad, big fan of your channel. I've been watching you for a couple of years now, and a lot of your advice has actually helped me keep my little smoke shop afloat. I run a modest place in a mid-sized town here in Indiana. Nothing fancy, but we've got a steady crowd. I've never been one for ghost stories, but what's been happening in my shop the last couple of years has me questioning what I thought I knew. You said you wanted spooky, realistic stories for your Halloween show? Well, here's mine, and it revolves around your favorite cigars, premium cigars to be exact, and how they somehow vanish and then reappear in ways I just can't explain. Oh gosh, love cigars. So I think this is going to be my story. I love this. And by the way, I too can make cigars disappear. You just have to put them with my cutter and my torch and just set me loose and watch them go. Poof, disappear. How it started. I carry a small selection of premium cigars behind the counter. Not a huge humidor like you'd find in high-end cigar lounges, but enough to keep the cigar guys in town happy. Some Arturo Fuente, Cohibas, a few Oliva boxes, things like that. We keep them in the climate-controlled display case, digital hygrometer, temp control, the works. My customers who buy cigars are serious about quality, so I make sure everything is kept in perfect condition. The first time something weird happened, I brushed it off as human error. I came in on Monday morning to check inventory. One box of Monte Cristos was missing. Gone. Not short a stick or two, the whole damn box. Checked the cameras, nothing. The feed showed the box sitting in the case during closing the night before, and in the morning when I came in, the footage kind of skipped. No tampering, no door opening, no staff. The box just wasn't fucking there. That in and of itself, ladies and gentlemen, is a nightmare. That's a nightmare. 3 weeks later, the same box of Monte Cristos were back. Same case, same shelf, like it never left. Only difference, the cellophane wrapping looked a little yellowed, like it had aged more than just 3 weeks. Customers had no access to the case unless we unlocked it for them. And the box wasn't charged out of the inventory, so it wasn't like we sold it and forgot. I should have been relieved it was back, but it felt worse, like the mystery wasn't solved at all. It didn't stop there. Over the next year, it happened half a dozen more times. Always cigars, never lighters, never glass, never vape gear, just the premium cigars. A box of Cohibas vanished in July, reappeared in September. 4 individual Rocky Patels disappeared in January, showing back up in March. An entire sampler pack disappeared for almost 6 months, then reappeared right in the middle of the case on top of everything else, like someone wanted me to notice. And every time they came back, they looked slightly different, like they had aged years in only a few weeks. The wrappers were a little darker, labels a little faded. One time, the humidity pack inside my bone was bone dry, like it had been stored somewhere else entirely. It wasn't just me or the employees noticing. Another guy asked if I'd started carrying estate cigars. I didn't even know what the hell that meant until I looked it up. Apparently, it refers to rare or vintage cigars people have aged for years. The thing is, I hadn't changed suppliers, same distributor, same orders, but the cigars coming back had that aged quality like they'd been sitting in some cellar for 20 years. I finally decided to set up a second camera, hidden, pointed right at the display case. I wanted to catch whoever or whatever was messing with me. Here's the freaky part. When the cigars disappeared, the footage shows nothing unusual. But if you looked closely in the frame right before they were gone, the video would fuzz just slightly like static of an old TV. And when they reappear weeks later, same thing. One frame of static, then boom, there they were, sitting right back in the case. No one touching them, no case opening, just gone, then back. After the third or fourth time, we noticed another detail. Whenever the cigars reappeared, the whole shop would smell faintly of tobacco smoke. Not even fresh cigar smoke, but old, like the smell you'd expect in an antique lounge chair that had been the shop bar of a cigar lounge for a decade. It lingered for hours. Man, customers would notice it too, asking if we'd been smoking inside, which of course we hadn't. One regular said it smelled exactly like his grandfather's study. The employees started freaking out. One of my employees refused to touch the cigars after a while. He swore he heard a low humming sound near the case one night while closing, like a man humming an old tune. When he turned his head, it stopped. Another employee said she saw smoke inside the case, even though nothing was lit, just a wisp hurling up behind the glass. When she opened the case to check, nothing inside but cigars. I've heard all kinds of theories from people when I tell them this. Time slip, cigars literally moving through time, disappearing and coming back aged. Residual energy. Maybe the cigars belonged to someone long ago and they're returning to where they were once kept. It's a prank, that it's just some elaborate prank. But if it is, it's the most committed prank I've ever seen, and nobody has broken character in years. Personally, I don't know. I'm not saying it's ghost, but I can't think of another explanation that fits. The creepiest moment came last winter. We had a snowstorm, and I stayed overnight in the shop since I couldn't really drive home. Around 2 a.m., I was dozing on the office couch when I heard a faint snip, snip sound like someone clipping the end of a cigar with a cutter. I froze. I listened hard. Then came the smell. Rich, earthy tobacco smoke drifting into the office. I ran out to the front. The case was closed and locked, but the shop smelled like someone just lit up a cigar. And sitting dead center in the case was a cigar I'd never seen before. It sat there for about a week, then it vanished, and that one never came back. Where things stand now, the vanishing still happens, not as often, but maybe once every few months. We joke about it now, but truth be told, none of us are really comfortable with it. I still carry premium cigars, still sell them, but every time I open the case, I wonder which one might not be there tomorrow, and if they disappear, how long before they come back. It's not hurting my business, to be honest. If anything, some customers think it adds character to the place. But late at night, when I'm locking up, I always glance at the case and I wonder if I'm about to smell that old tobacco again. Hey, anyway, that's my story. Use it for your Halloween show if you want. I've never shared that story. I've never shared the whole thing before, but I figured your audience will appreciate it. Thanks again for everything you do, Chad. Her name's Jennifer. Just about goofed up and told it. And she asked me not to tell the store name. Although I would think you'd really want me to tell you the store, because then you would be able to capitalize on it. Because, people are crazy. They come, they want to be in haunted Airbnbs and haunted buildings and all this shit. Although I always wondered, what would you do, honestly, if you saw a ghost I mean, like, woo, there he is. What would you do, man? I don't think I would run. I mean, I've been involved in some craziness myself and didn't run then either. Okay. Kind of is what it is, right? All right. So here's number 4, the Phantom Neon, she says. Okay. Hey, Chad, I own a smoke shop in a strip plaza on the edge of town. I've been watching your channel for a while now. Thank you. And I respect how you tell it straight. That's who I am, just to be honest. Normally, I am a no nonsense type of gal, but what I'm about to tell you has been going on in my shop for years, and I still can't explain it. Since you asked for Halloween stories, well, here's mine. It's about a neon sign, or more accurately, the way it refuses to stay off. When I first opened in 2018, geez, that's a while, girl, that's a while. I had a big custom neon sign made for the shop window. You know, the kind, bright red, open letters with a glowing border. It was very old school neon, not LED, none of that newfangled crap. It gave off even that buzzing hum you can hear if you stand close enough. It worked perfectly for years. Then one summer night in 21, it started doing something strange. I was closing up and I unplugged the sign as usual. But as I walked back to the counter, I caught a reflection in the glass door that my sign was glowing faintly. I turned around, the plug was in my hand, and yet the sign flickered to life. Just dim enough that it looked like it was running on some leftover energy. I figured maybe it had a capacitor holding a charge, but the thing kept glowing long after it should have drained. Over the next few weeks, it slowly got worse. Every time I unplugged it, within an hour or two, the sign would flicker back on. Not full brightness, just this eerie, pulsing glow like it was struggling to wake itself up. My employees started noticing it too. Customers even asked why the sign was half lit in the middle of the night when the store was closed. The power company couldn't explain it. Electrician replaced the transformer, didn't fix it. Then it started happening during the day too. Sometimes the sign would flicker or pulse even when it was fully plugged in and on, almost like it was trying to signal something. Hey, here's where it gets really unsettling. The flickering wasn't random. It started to look like patterns. 3 short flicks, a pause, then one long, over and over. One of my employees swore it looked like Morse code. We actually looked it up. The pattern spelled out the word here. More than once, customers mentioned the sign to me. One guy who came in for cigars late at night said he swore the sign was on when he pulled up, glowing bright red, and when he walked inside, it was pitch black in the window. Another time, a couple came in during the day and asked if I left the sign on at all night for the man who stands in the window. I asked what they meant. They said they saw a shadow of someone standing right behind the glass with the glowing sign behind him, but nobody was there when they walked in. The scariest incident happened last Halloween, almost exactly a year ago. We closed early that night since traffic was dead. I unplugged the sign, locked up, went home. Around 3 a.m., I got a call from the pizza shop next door. The guy in the night shift said my neon sign was glowing full brightness. He thought maybe someone had broken in. I rushed down there. Sure enough, the whole front of my store was lit up like it was open. The sign blazed so bright it lit the parking lot. But inside, no power. The breaker was off. The plug was still lying on the floor. When I walked in, the sign cut off instantly. Dead black. Since then, it still happens now and then. The pulsing glow, the weird patterns, customers claiming they see figures in the light. One of my regulars, an older guy, ex-Navy too, looked at it one night and shook his head and said, "That's not electricity. That's presence." I didn't ask him to explain. At this point, we joke about it. We call it phantom neon. But I'll tell you this. None of us like to be the last one out when the sign's still pulsing. There's something about the way it glows, like it's trying to call someone or let someone know it's still here. Well, hey, Chad, anyway, that's my story. Maybe your viewers can figure it out better than I can. Thanks for letting us shop owners share this stuff, Janie. Well, Janie. Yeah, girl. That's scary. I agree. That's weird, man. Especially that black figure that people are seeing, man. That's very, very odd. I have to agree. All right, let's jump into another one real quick about a haunted register. This ought to be good. Hey, Chad, I've been running my smoke shop for about 6 years now, and I've seen just about everything you can imagine, from late night rushes of college kids to sketchy folks trying to haggle me down on glass. But what I've never expected was for my register itself to start acting haunted. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. This is the story of what we'll call the ghost receipt. He's going to tell us that it communicates with him through the receipt in the register. It started back in 22. One night, I was counting the drawer at close. Everything balanced fine, but when I went to pull the Z tape, if you all don't understand register, there's an X and a Z. X gives you the number, the Z you close it out and zero it out for the day. The printer suddenly whirled and spit out a receipt. No transaction had been rung in, no card swipe, no cash input, just a blank sale. I figured it was a glitch, machines messing up, but when I looked closer, the receipt wasn't blank. It had a timestamp, 11:11 p.m., but instead of a product, the description just said, "Thank you." I was the only one in the store. At first, it was once every few weeks. The drawer would balance, nothing missing, but the printer would kick out a slip, always late at night, usually within an hour of closing. And the message would vary, see you soon, hello, still here, and once, just the word behind. That one rattled me. One day it got stranger. A regular came in for wraps, paid cash, and when the receipt printed, it wasn't the usual line item. It read, "Don't go." He actually came back the next day and asked if I was pulling some kind of shit. I showed him the drawer tape. His sale was there, but the printer had run a second receipt all by itself with the message, "I swear to you, Chad, I had nothing to do with that shit." One of my employees had the worst encounter. She was closing up one night when the register spat out 3 receipts in a row. First one said, "Nice night." The second said, "I see you." And the third one, just a string of numbers, 30300. The crazy part, once he checked the time, the clock on the register read exactly 3:03 a.m. Well, she promptly quit. I had the POS company come out, check the system twice. Both times they said the hardware was fine. No malware, no errors, nothing wrong with the printer. They told me it was impossible for it to print custom text like that unless someone had programmed it manually. But there's no function in the back end that would even allow it, they said. One night I stayed late on purpose, hoping to catch it, and around midnight the register started whirring on its own. I leaned over to watch. The receipt came out slowly like it was dragging. When I picked it up, it said, "Nice try." When I checked the footage later, the camera above the counter buzzed out. For 15 seconds, the printer was rolling. When the picture came back, I was standing there holding the slip. This part still gives me chills. Every time a ghost receipt prints, the shop smells faintly of burnt paper. Not like a candle, like something smoldering. Customers have wrinkled their noses and asked if I had burned something in the back. And nothing ever is. The creepiest one came about 6 months ago. I was restocking when the machine sped out a slip with no sale. The paper was hot, almost too hot to hold. The message read, "Tonight." That night, the motion alarm in the shop went off twice. When the police came to check, nothing was disturbed, but the register drawer was open. Still happens not every day, but often enough that it's part of the store's lore now. Employees joke that the register has a ghost account. Customers get spooked, but oddly, some think it's funny and keep the receipts as souvenirs. I've had people frame them like they're collectibles. It's a good idea too, man. If you honestly think about it, you put them in a little, like a little, 3x3, frame and hang it on the wall. And, I might even put it on the ghost wall. I'd get me a neon, like, open or tobacco back there it is. And then I would do that in order, to keep the lore going, because people like that kind of shit. I've kept a shoebox full of the weirdest ones. Sometimes I flip through them and wonder if they're random or if they're building towards a bigger message. Either way, it's unnerving when the lights are low and the shop is quiet and the printer starts rolling on its own. So yeah, Chad, that's my haunted smoke shop story. Thought you'd want it for your Halloween series. Wow, his name is Jerry, a fellow shop owner. Jerry, thanks, man. That's a cool story. I have to admit that's very cool. These have been some good ones, man. So I'm gonna cut this all in half, and we're gonna make 2 episodes out of this. So that gives you one right there. And hopefully you like it. Hopefully you listen to every single one of them, because these guys put some time into it. Guys and girls put some time into it, and I really like ghost shit. If you know me, I'm about this. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of haunt TV and a lot of ghost stuff. And I like scary lore. And I like hearing, haunted stories, and especially like Appalachia ghost stories. I like those kind of things, old roads and old churches and stuff like that. I like listening to those type of stories. And, of course, I'm getting old enough where, at some point I too am going to be a ghost, and so I'd like to know what I'm up against, trying to make the grade, and excel a little bit. But, we will do another one. So catch you in the next episode as soon as, we're done with it. It'll be out, but you will get it before Halloween, promise. And I enjoy this. I hope you did too. So tune in to part 2. And I think I've got, I may have, a few more. This may turn into a 3-episode banger. And I just don't want to have a 2-hour episode thing. I don't want to do that. So hopefully you're enjoying it. And check it out. I'll hit you back next time, and I hope you're really enjoying this. No commercials, none of this shit, unless you're not paying for premium, and then you're probably seeing some commercials. So, but stay tuned, y'all. Really, this is a lot of fun to me. I love reading these, and hopefully you're getting a big kick out of them as well. All right, so see you next time. Ooh, stay
spooked. It's so scary.
I kind of like it, man. I never get to use that voice, man. Come on. I got to have some fun. Yeah. All right, y'all. See you next time.
Bye.